Alright guys, in this video I'm going to be going over the even problems. The odd problems are there, and I've also included the answers to the odd problems at the bottom of the sheet, but not the even ones. But I will go over the even ones here in this video. The odds are there for you to practice on your own if you want to do that. So let's go ahead and begin with number 2. Alright, so we are solving equations here in this first unit's quiz. And so basically what you want to do is you want to get the x by itself. And we look at what is with the x. That would be this plus 10. And what I mean by with it is it's on the same side of the equal sign. So I want to get rid of that minus 10 because I want the x by itself. And the way we do that is we do the opposite. So what's the opposite of minus 10? The opposite of minus 10 is plus 10. So I'm going to do plus 10. And the reason we do that is because minus 10 and plus 10 cancel each other out. But whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. And so now let's see what we have left. We can bring this x down. That's still there. The 10s are gone. Bring down your equal sign. Negative 5 and positive 10 make 5. And so I've got x by itself, and the answer is 5. All right? Let's go ahead and take a look at number 4. On number 4 here, I want to get x by itself. So what number is with the x on the right side of the equal sign? Well, it looks like there's a 19 in the denominator. That means that 19 is dividing the x. So what's the opposite of dividing by 19? Well, that would be multiplying by 19. Okay? Now, these cancel each other out over here as well, and over here. So I'm left with 18 equals x, and we're good to go. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to number 6. This is a two-step equation. The last two problems we did were one-step equations because you only had to do one step to get the variable by itself. On these ones, you have to do two things to get the variable by itself. So I want to solve for a, and that means I need to get rid of two things. I need to get rid of this negative 7, and I also need to get rid of this negative 5 there. Now we have to ask ourselves, what are they doing to the a? Well, this negative 7 here is multiplying by the a. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to end up dividing by a negative 7. Since negative 7 is multiplying the a, we do the opposite, which is division. So we are going to divide by a negative 7. Now what's this 5 doing? Well, it's a negative 5. It's not multiplying it, so that means it must be being subtracted from the a. When it's a negative, it's being subtracted. So what we will do to get rid of that is the opposite of subtraction, which is addition. So we will add the 5. Now, which one do we do first? Do we add the 5 first and then divide by negative 7, or do we divide by negative 7 and then add the 5? Well, usually you do the, sorry about that. Usually you do the addition or subtraction first, and then you do the division and multiplication second. So I'm going to get rid of the 5 by adding it on both sides. And then I'm going to get rid of the negative 7 by dividing it. So a is 3. You can always check your answers with these problems by plugging them in. You don't have to do this. I think it's positive 3. So I got 3. So I'm going to plug in 3 for a, and we see what we get here. This is negative 5. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. And then these two should come together to make that. If you get the same thing on both sides, then you know you got a right. So a must be 3. You don't have to do that last step. That's just a way of showing you how you can check your work. All right, number 8. So we have another two-step equation here. I need to get rid of two numbers so that I get the p by itself. I need to get rid of this 9, and I need to get rid of the 5. The 9 is dividing into the p. Therefore, we need to multiply by 9. The 5 is being added to the p, and therefore we need to subtract the 5. And which one do we do first? Well, once again, we do the subtraction first, and we do the multiplication second. All right, so here we go. Minus 5 first. Those are gone. Multiply by 9 second. Looks like P is equal to negative 18. Let's go ahead and check out number 10. So now we're into the world of multi-step equations. For these types of equations, we're going to always start with distribution first. Distribution is anytime you have these parentheses and then something on the outside. Now in this case, you could think of this like a 1. So step 1 is to distribute the 1 inside. So that means multiply it to the inside of the parentheses. So negative 1 times negative 3 gives me positive 3, and negative 1 times positive 3 gives me minus 3. Okay? After you do distribution, you want to combine, actually, let's see, DC, you want to combine any like terms that exist. So I don't see any terms on this side of the equal sign that I can combine. I don't see any like terms that I can combine on this side of the equal sign, so we can skip that step. But we do want to move on to the next step, which is where we move the smaller x over. So I've got a 6x and a 3x. Which one's smaller? Well, it's the 3x. So to get rid of that 3x, we're going to do the opposite of a positive 3x, which is a negative 3x on both sides. I'm going to get rid of these lines that I drew. I don't want you guys to think we're dividing, because we're not. All right, so now this is gone. The 6x and the 3x subtract to make 3x. And now we have a two-step equation. So at that point, all we have to do is solve it using the methods that we already saw in the previous problem. So you're going to do addition first. And then division second. Looks like x equals 8. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 12. Now we're into the literal equations. Basically, what we want to do here is we have a formula, and we want to get one of the variables by itself. So in this case, I want to get this x by itself. All right. So the first thing we do is we see, are there any grouping terms? And I don't see any terms that are grouped by either a fraction or a set of parentheses, so we can skip that. Anything that's not grouped, we can go ahead and get rid of in the normal way. So, for instance, this y is being added to the x, so we can go ahead and subtract that on both sides. Now I want to get rid of that c. And that c is not being subtracted from x. The x is being subtracted from the c, so that's a little bit different. So that means that the c is positive, which means it's being added to the x, but the x is actually being multiplied by a negative 1, so you might want to keep that in mind. So to get rid of the c, I'm going to subtract c on both sides. All right, so the last thing we want to do to get x by itself is we want to get rid of that negative 1 that's being multiplied by the x. So we do the opposite, which is division. Now when you divide by a negative 1, basically it just changes all the signs of everything. So the g becomes negative, the y becomes positive, the c becomes positive, and there you go. Now these could be really in any order. So for instance, they might write it like this instead. But the point is that you've got a negative g, a positive y, and a positive c. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 14, we want to solve for x here. So I need to get rid of two things to get that x by itself. I need to get rid of the c, and I need to get rid of the y. To get rid of the c, we would divide the c, and to get rid of the y, we would subtract the y. And we always do the subtraction or addition first, followed by the division or multiplication second. So let's begin here. Minus that y on both sides first. And then we're going to divide by c second. And there you guys have it. All right, next one, number 16. This one looks pretty similar, but it's actually a little bit different, and you'll see why in a moment. So I want to get x by itself. Now the problem is that x is in the denominator, and I'll show you how we handle that. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of this y. Now, I can't really get x by itself until it's out of the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by x, the thing I'm trying to get by itself. And so they cancel on this side. And I'm going to put this whole thing in parentheses because x is multiplying that whole side. So here's what I have as a result of doing that. So I got x out of the denominator. Now what I want to do is get x by itself. So x is being multiplied by this entire set here in parentheses, right? So the opposite of multiplication would be division. So I divide both sides by g minus y. And that's that. And that does it for our review. Hopefully it was helpful, and we'll see you guys for a quiz in class.